Strange but true.
And it looks like I get to lead this one. So, the article for this segment is a little bit different than we normally feature. Normally, we feature something that is purely secular, but this article from the Associated Press is actually kind of a positive for something that a LDS person has decided to create a virtual reality tour through theism. And I gotta tell you, this one it kind of scares me a little bit. So while it's positive for them, it seems like, again, going back to the West Virginia thing, we're getting them young. So we're talking about virtual reality worshiping, and you grab your headset, and in this case, they touted the Quest 2 because, oh look, it's the cheapest one out there and accessible and all that good stuff. And you can experience religious text, like you can fly through it. You can go into you could probably go into Noah's Ark. You could probably see Jesus up there up on the cross, which is a disturbing aspect.
Very.
Yeah. And like I said, this is supposed to be like a feel good. It's like, oh, for these trying times when you can't gather because of COVID, or if you have social anxiety, it still fosters a community. And we can all agree that fostering community is great, but if you're fostering a community based upon lies and unfounded scripture, is that really good? I mean, could you then, with this virtual reality, show heaven and show how great it would be to die? It's really, really disturbing to me. But then again, I could potentially be thinking a little bit too deeply into this. What does everyone else think?
This is weird.
It is.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It
Yep.
is strange. It's true.
And true, yeah.
How do you? Okay, I'm gonna be real blunt. How the fuck do you sit in a virtual reality church and still be like, oh yeah, ghosts and spirits and gods and angels and all that? Where's the angel in the virtual reality headset? Do you know how much science went into that? Like, that being said,
It's a ghost in the shell.
I guess, yeah, that's prophecy right there, folks. I mean, I'm glad that people have community. I'm glad that people can get together and work through tough times. I understand exactly where you're coming from, Jason, and I think it's a really good point, is that it kind of seems really quickly this could get dicey, and not in a way that's just like, oh well, okay, maybe they just they waste so much time in the virtual church that they stop seeing friends, and that's important. But yeah, if they're walking you around heaven telling you got to get here soon, that's not a good message.
Oh, gosh. It's just weird. And this is the reason why I find it weird. And Kelly, I wanted you to weigh in. But I'm just going to throw this out there because according to the article, with this whole virtual reality that was created because I believe that the church that they were referencing was actually seeing a decline in attendance. So they had this great idea to set up a VR in order for them to be able to get more followers. I think that they said that they actually created a community of over like hundreds of members now that was able to come to VR church, and it was like making the whole Christian experience, I believe, come alive per se. And they call it like a spiritual experience. But I found spiritual, the word using spiritual, so elusive. And the reason being is because when you think of the definition of spirituality, I said this in my notes that I found like several different definitions of spiritual or spirituality, and they were all different. One was relating to or affecting the human spirit or the soul as opposed to material or physical things. But the soul or a human spirit has never been proven to actually exist. Or the other one was the recognition of a feeling of sense or a belief that there is something greater than oneself, or something more than being a human being, or more than a sensory experience, or even relating to religion or to a higher power. But I believe that the issue that I'm having with this here is that when it became a whole VR experience, it stopped being spiritual.
You got a point there.
Kelly?
I mean, I'm assuming that they can find their own spirituality out of it anyway. People are going to define spiritual they want to, any way they define it. What first got to me was, and now I'm an old person, obviously, you can see my face, and this was something that even if I was a Christian, I don't think would appeal to me. And it made me wonder who they were really reaching out to, and who are these hundreds of people that they're bringing into the church. And it seems to me that they're like fishing for a younger audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not so sure if that's going to work with them when we have so many younger people turning away from the church. So it seems to me kind of self-defeating to make this technology to attract what I would think would be attracting a younger audience, right? While the younger audience is walking away from the church at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my big things that I thought about it. And then I thought, now if everybody's not going into church and they're not sitting in the pews, how's the church going to pay for their building? Where's the property taxes coming from now? And are they charging for this virtual reality experience? And how much are they charging? Is this now? Yeah, right. And that was one thing I started wondering about, is because this is going to definitely put a big chip in the money that the church is bringing in if the people aren't coming in, right?
Can you tax exempt virtual reality church?
I don't.
I don't see why you
guess it
couldn't.
would depend. Yeah, I guess it would depend
if it
on
goes
the organization.
If it goes through a particular store, no. Because not every digital way, but one thing I do want to just iterate on this is that this actually started in 2016, so it did start before the pandemic.
Right.
As everyone was saying, it started because their numbers were declining.
Right.
And so it did kind of set them up for a situation where a pandemic or other illnesses. And Kelly and Cynthia, I know you like to play the age card in this, but there are older people who are enjoying this as well, because they're able to go to church, but not actually go to church because they're confined to a wheelchair or whatever. The last few years of my grandma's life, she had to watch on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering how different that is from that, other than you have Master Chief and a giant banana in the pews.
Oh yeah, because they can use avatars.
I did like
They
that.
could use
though.
avatars.
I did like that. That'd be really fun. I gotta admit, I'd go to church for that. Like, I mean,
to see what everyone avatar, what they choose.
Could you imagine an entire row of pews of just Master Chiefs? Just sitting there brooding, going.
Or like
No.
entire row of like emojis.
Yeah.
I
mean,
it is okay. So when my mom was sick, even like when COVID happened and my mother's church stopped having services as far as like people actually coming to the church. They went directly to an online platform. And my mom used to watch church via Facebook because they would actually broadcast the sermons and things of that nature on their Facebook page. And they would have their Bible studies, and people would gather via Zoom, which a lot of churches went to that platform once we had such a high infection rate, just to keep people safe. Now, all those other weirdo, doohickey, I don't want to believe the science and I don't want to believe that COVID is real type
Mega
preachers who's
churches,
mega churches,
mega churches especially.
Craiglock, actually having church open in front of people. And
Oh,
oh,
excuse me.
oh man, we should drink some more water,
You know,
Jason.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we really should drink more water. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get a sip myself. And while I'm doing that, if anybody else wants to chime in on this, mass mandates not even being followed. Oh my goodness, I just second Rarity,
So
say
weird.
something.
So
say
weird.
something.
Well, I think you were touching on a good point for sure, which is, a lot of the really, what I would say, offensive churches, they're probably not likely to be a part of this new wave, this new kind of, where are we going with church? What are we doing next with our spirituality and stuff?
Mhm.
Which I will say, I guess, if I have to live in a world where religious organizations are regularly gathering large banana avatars and dinosaurs and master chiefs together to talk about God, I'm glad that it's these types of churches. But at the same time, yeah, it'd be cool if that wasn't a thing. Like, yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Oh, I don't know, y'all. How y'all feel about church holodecks? I mean,
I just want a holodeck, okay? I don't care if
holodeck.
Yeah.
yeah,
just give me a damn holodeck already. It's the 21st century.
yeah, like having hollow sweets. I just,
Yeah. That'd be
Cork,
nice.
Cork can run one. You have to get your gold press platinum together in order for you to be able to pay for time. But I'm just saying,
I thought this idea might work for us too, in the fact that people, in my experience, people are pretty much inherently lazy.
Mm.
And if you don't have to go to church, you just might not go to church. And while people aren't forced to go to church, there's this kind of social stigma that you have to show up every Sunday and see everybody to make sure that you're the good person in the neighborhood.
Right.
And I was wondering how this all would play into that idea too, so that was an interesting thing that I was thinking about.
Well, I tell you, you would save so much money on Sunday best clothes. You totally
Yeah,
would.
right.
Yeah.
Right, but would people know it was you when you showed up looking like the giant banana? That's the whole thing.
I'm telling you.
Oh my god. I want to just be the emoji. I want to be the laughing emoji with the eyes just crying out. So like every time that the pastor would like make a sermon and like say something like very fantastical in the Bible, it would just be me going.
So who's that? Is that Matt Powell, who has a giant inflatable banana in his backyard that he calls Dr. Peel? Yeah,
That is.
that's the avatar that we need to have in that church.
Yeah, yep. Let's make it happen. So I believe that all of us are going to join VR Church and just pick the most ridiculous avatars that we can, just to say that we showed up, and hopefully we will give the metaverse something that it never experienced before. So I don't know. I'm just saying things right now. But let's go ahead and get some final thoughts. Jason, I'm going to start with you since you brought us in.
So, we need to watch how we do things. We can't have any kind of call to action. However, if we're going to have a virtual reality church, could we have an anti-apologist type of VR situation? Show like a real scale Noah's Ark and try to fit all those things, all the animals in, even in the baby animals. Oh, they were just eggs or whatever. We'll still try to fit all that in and just fail so miserably. If we can get our atheist programmers on that would be wonderful.
All right. Well, you know what? We got some in the background that's even giving us instructions as we speak. So, Greg, get on that. How about that? Okay.
A little out of his wheelhouse, but you know.
There's a YouTube video for that. Kelly.
I really don't know. This one was just over my head, to be honest with you. The idea of the giant banana is just stuck in my head now. I can't think of anything else.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yes.
Oh, my face hurts. Thank you, Rarity.
I've been thinking about for the last few minutes, just like a group of people joining one day for a session, and then the pastor being like, hey, do you want to see what it was like back in Jesus's time? And then them, being transported back virtually, just be like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, this is just horrible.
Yeah.
Like, why would we want
Yeah, give them an actual taste of what it was like to live in those days.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Who would want to do that? It is a strange but true. And this is so strange and so weird. All I can think of is giant bananas, VR rooms that should be holodecks, and Cork actually making people pay gold plus platinum in order for them to be able to experience it. And those are
tithe and gold plus platinum.
Yeah, just tie it all in gold plus platinum. In lieu of tides.